to you, Mr. Ram, first. What's your first reaction to reports that the BBC's offices are raided in Mumbai and Delhi?
Sorry?
Your first reactions to the raids?
I was shocked at the over-the-top and brazenly foolish action by the income tax authorities. Nobody is going to be fooled by the story they put out that they are investigating these possible irregularities. These allegations have been made. It's clearly to do with their intolerance of what was put out by the BBC. So my first reaction was surprise, but but then I saw the great folly involved in it. It's a comedy of follies here.
Why do you say that? Why do you say it's a comedy of follies, Mr. Ram?
Because first they blocked episode 1 of this. This was not going to be widely watched in India. It was for the UK audience. The episode 1 of the BBC documentary titled India, the Modi Question. The act of blocking it, the Streisand effect, as it's called, came into play. So, and then this follows immediately. Nobody is going to be fooled by the story, the pretext put out by unnamed sources. These sources won't even come on record. And I'm surprised that the media are giving them play. There was government sources say or income tax sources say, and this is just bad journalism. Let them come on record and say what it's about. Let somebody who has a name, a senior position in the income tax department or representing the government come out and say what this is all about. And as the Editors Guild has pointed out, Rajdeep, this is part of a pattern. It was against NewsClick, it was against News Laundry, it was against Dainik Bhaskar, and then NewsClick was also the enforcement directorate went after them. And nobody's taken in by the cover-up stories that are put out to justify these anti-democratic actions, probably illegal actions as well.
You're using very strong words. You're saying it's anti-democratic, it's illegal. Dr. Sanjay Baru, your first reactions? Do you believe it's anti-democratic and anti-Indian, or should we hold our horses till we find out what exactly does the income tax have before us on the BBC?
Well, the timing of this whole thing certainly makes one believe that there is more to it than simply transfer pricing problems or tax in evasion problems. I think there has been a systematic campaign against the media. BBC has been criticized by very responsible members of the government. And it's not the only newspaper, as Ram has mentioned, it's not the only media organization that has been at the receiving end. Incidentally, I have myself been censored in the media for saying things which the editors of the newspapers or magazines where I've written felt that this would offend people in power. So we are living in a regime of increasing censorship, and these actions are meant to warn others that not to walk down this path. I do believe that we are in a sense in an environment that I, as a student in the mid-70s, saw during the emergency era. BBC was one of the targets of the emergency era. We are back to that kind of targeting of the media, which is counterproductive. Frankly, as Ram said, I mean, more people watched the documentary after it was banned than before it.
Are you likening what you've seen today to the emergency? Are you saying these are shades of what you as a young student heard or saw during the emergency?
Not just today. I mean, for the last several months, many actions, the use of investigation agencies against the media, against businessmen. There is an implicit kind of terror atmosphere. I used to be in the business media, as you know, and therefore I talk to a lot of business people. There's a lot of fear. So there is an atmosphere of fear. It's a fact, which I think is counterproductive, because I've always said this. Here is a government that enjoys an absolute majority in parliament. Why should they go after all of this? I mean, in what way does the position of Mr. Modi get affected by a BBC documentary? Whether that was good or not is a different issue. I mean, I've been a critic of the BBC in the past. They used to use the word militant for terrorists. I have in my writings criticized the BBC on their coverage of India, but that doesn't mean I harass them and I ban them. We never banned during my period in the Prime Minister's office any newspaper organization that was critical of the government, that was critical of Manmohan Singh. A lot of them were. And many of them today are, are defending this government. Were very, very critical of the Prime Minister then, but nobody banned them, nobody harassed them, no income tax department went after them. When you have such an overwhelming majority in Parliament, what is this fear and this intolerance of criticism or of questioning? This
Right.
is really counterproductive. It's not good for the country's image. Let me say, this is just not good for India's image as a democracy.